And tell me how to say ladies and gentlemen in gender-neutral terms.
Greetings, gamers. I've wanted to do an Eldritch Nails build since the APG released, but I just couldn't find the time. Work, other projects, and Molly in the desert with Scooter and the boys always seemed to get in the way. But with a little inspiration from Howl of the Wild, I finally managed to pull my dick out of the sand long enough to bring you this build. Here's the concept. It's Gao from Final Fantasy VI. Wasn't what I had planned, but I started with Wild Witch armaments and worked backwards until it just kinda turned out like that. Attributes are as follows. Strength and Intelligence are your most important stats, but due to some RP decisions later in the build, we can only get them to +3 to start. Dex and Con will get a slight boost, but Wisdom and Charisma will have to stay right where they are. Not the most impressive stat line for a melee character, but there are workarounds. Now, if you followed along to this point and haven't figured out we're picking humans so we can get our claws right out the gate, that's understandable. We all have gaps in our knowledge. Don't beat yourself up over it. While not critical to the build, the Versatile Heritage, no not those, will get you Toughness at level 1 to help mitigate your coughing baby levels of HP. As for our background, I want to do Feral Child for the flavor. However, this will cost us an attribute boost, and it is rare, so GMs might not allow it. Maybe go for something like Root Worker instead if telling people you can smell them in your best Morgan Freeman voice doesn't do it for you. Of course, Witch will be our class, which means we'll have to pick a patron. Considering we aren't exactly optimized for melee, I figured one with 2 abilities to make your enemies easier to hit and less likely to hit you is about as good as it gets. Besides the feat we grabbed at level 1, there are 2 others we want from our class, which we'll take at levels 4 and 6. This one's just gravy, since you're about as likely to hit with a multiple attack penalty as BioWare is to make another Dragon Age game. Oh, made myself sad. 1 second. And we're back. The real linchpin to the build is Sympathetic Strike. Landing that first hit makes it easier to hit with your Hex, which makes it easier to hit with everything else. Try to set up a flank with the rest of your front line beforehand for best results. You may have noticed we didn't take a class feat at level 2. Naturally, that's because we'll be taking an archetype to get the most out of our unarmed strikes. Only question is, which archetype? I was originally thinking Martial Artist. Follow-up Strike is a really nice backup plan, and Grievous Blow is a great attack option for after you've got him hexed and in potential crit range. But the Dedication is a dead feat, so I couldn't really justify it. If you have the spare class feats, however, give it a look. Claw Dancer was my next pick. Assuming long nails count as claws, this would be one of the only ways to qualify for the archetype sans furry allegations. Plus, these stance-exclusive attacks have finesse, which means you could optimize your attributes a bit better by swapping strength for dex. Unfortunately, bribing your GM with food and/or sexual favors to allow your nails to count won't change the fact that your witch feats only enhance your nail attacks specifically. It's anti-synergistic to the point that it wasn't worth the amount of mouthwash you had to buy after doing what you did to make the GM allow it in the first place. Eventually, I settled on Wild Mimic. By identifying different monsters you encounter, you can learn to use their abilities for yourself. Even if you don't run into anything that lets you qualify for these feats right away, the unique lore skill from the Dedication is useful in and of itself. Never underestimate the ability to look at any creature and ask, do I know how to kill that? Due to the uncertain nature of which feats you qualify for and when, I can't give you a level-by-level guide for which feats to take. Instead, I'll just give you a list of the ones you might like and leave it up to you to decide how much mouthwash you need to ensure you encounter the right creatures. Given your lack of defensive capabilities, anything that keeps you standing could come in handy. Again, your odds of hitting twice in one turn are slim, but on the off chance you do and don't need to sustain your hex for some reason, here you go. This fucks. Getting to use your spell DC means you actually stand a chance of critting with the Clumsy condition, making it that much easier to do it all over again next turn. We already have spell slots, but a free one every combat isn't the worst thing to spend a feat on.
Approved!
Kinda useless without primal proportions, but makes for a pass-pull engage tool with it. You have to temper your excitement about AoE stuns by weighing how many enemies you can hit versus how many you want to be in the middle of once those stuns wear off. So yeah, go ahead and take these 2 and just... Sure, you can cast Regenerate normally by now, but you can't cast it as a reaction. Speaking of casting, which spells do you want with this build? Well, first off, Mystic Armor and Runic Body will be staples in the early levels. Hidebound makes a great oh shit button if you don't have time to set up more proper defenses. Also, you may be melee focused, but it never hurts to have a ranged cantrip or two in case you run into things that can fly or don't really care about slashing damage. Round out your spellcasting with a couple cheeky support and utility spells if your teammates won't stop bitching about your troll-ass build. See, Jeremy? I'm helping. Now let me scratch people in peace. And lastly, let's look at what items you should get. Hand Wraps of Mighty Blows goes without saying, but it's basically the only essential item for the build, so I'll say it anyway. Other than that, Crown of Witchcraft will make your familiars less likely to die, and Explorer's Clothing or Bands of Force offer suitable alternatives if dedicating a high-rank spell slot to Mystic Armor starts to feel too cumbersome. So that's the build. Let me know if you want me to dredge up this series more often in the future, preferably via all the methods that please the almighty algorithm. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I've kept Scooter and the boys waiting long enough.